All right, kiddos, for Comp Plus today, we're working with synonyms, and we've worked with synonyms before in spelling and some of our language activities and even reading before. So synonyms should not be unfamiliar to you, but we're going to be talking about using synonyms as a context clue. So when you are reading and you see an unfamiliar word, you can look around in the sentences, the sentence that has the unfamiliar word or the sentence before or after it, to see if you could find a synonym that helps you know the definition of that word. So remember, synonyms are words that mean the same or about the same as another word. Synonyms are great they help us to have more entertaining reading because we're not reading the same words over and over again. Sometimes we can learn new words. Also, it's a great technique for your writing, and we've done this before where we had to think about synonyms for our topic so that we weren't repeating the same words over and over again and boring our readers to death, right? Okay, so let me give you an idea. So let's say I want to use the word gargantuan, and maybe you've never heard that word before. So I want you to think of a synonym that is in the sentence after it to see if you can figure out what gargantuan means. Okay, so listen to the sentence. The gargantuan figure appeared in the waves. We were so excited to see the large humpback whale. Okay, so what do you think gargantuan means based on the sentence after that? Okay, so in the first sentence we talked about gargantuan figure, and the second sentence we talked about the large humpback whale. So yeah, gargantuan is a synonym for large. But you know what? Large is so common. It's so much more fun to use a word like gargantuan. So it's fun to use a synonym. It's also fun to read that. When you hear the word large humpback whale, it's so-so, right? But when you hear gargantuan, you're thinking this thing is very big, very massive, very colossal, right? All those are synonyms for large. Okay, here's another one. The little boy was so happy to receive the gift, he was jovial all day long. Okay, so what do you think jovial means based on that sentence? Listen again. The little boy was so happy to receive the gift, he was jovial all day long. So what do you think jovial means? Yeah, it means happy. He was so happy to receive that gift, he was happy all day long. But we don't want to use happy twice. That's so boring. So we want to mix it up with synonyms. So that's what authors do a lot of times. And you might learn some words while you're reading something, but you can still figure it out even without looking up the definition in a dictionary because you can figure out from the synonyms around it. Sometimes the author doesn't put synonyms around it, but here's a great technique, okay? So if you're kind of understanding the sentence, but it's just that one word, take that word out and think of your own word that could replace in that sentence, and then you've figured out a synonym. Usually that works. Sometimes we're a little off, but you can tell by the rest of the sentence and the rest of the context clues if you're right on target or not, okay? So those are really good techniques for reading unfamiliar words. Okay, so join me on page 93 and let's read together what it says about synonyms. Okay, so top of page 93, right under synonyms. Your friend says, get ready for a huge storm. You say, get ready for a gigantic storm. You're really both saying the same thing because huge and gigantic are synonyms. Synonyms are words that have the same or almost the same meaning. Knowing synonyms will help you understand difficult words when you read, and it'll help you choose the best words when you write because we don't want to be boring writers, right? So synonyms are great to use. Okay, so we're going to read this little article about lightning and thunder, okay? And we're going to see if we can find some synonyms in this article. So while I read it, I want you to read it too and take your pencil and just maybe underline some words that mean the same thing. Okay, so look for some synonyms as we read this. It is a quiet day. The leaves are still and even the birds are silent. Do you see some synonyms there? Okay, we'll come back to this. White clouds float peacefully across the calm sky. Then slowly, at first, dark clouds begin to drift overhead. Suddenly, a flash of lightning crosses the sky. Should you go inside? Is a storm nearby? Try this the next time you see lightning. Count seconds until you hear thunder. If 5 seconds go by, the storm is 1 mile away. If 10 seconds pass, it's 2 miles. What if only 1 second passes? The storm is approaching and it is very close. Okay, so that first sentence, I see 3 synonyms there. Okay, so I'm looking at the word quiet. It is a quiet day. Do you see 2 other synonyms for quiet in that sentence? Yeah, one is still, the leaves are still, even the birds are silent. So quiet, still, and silent would all be synonyms. They mean about the same thing, right? Okay, so I want you to take a look at the next sentence where it says white clouds float. Okay, and then I want you to go to the next sentence and see if you can find a synonym for float. Okay, so white clouds float peacefully across the calm sky. Then go to the next sentence. We're looking for a word that means the same as float. Then slowly at first dark clouds begin to drift overhead. Did you choose drift? Yeah, so float and drift are synonyms. Okay, so even though it wasn't in the same sentence, it was around that sentence. So if you didn't know what drift meant, you'd probably get an idea because the sentence before talks about white clouds floating, and now they're dark clouds, and instead of floating, they're drifting. But it kind of means the same thing, right? Synonyms. Okay, let's go back up to the sentence where it says white clouds float peacefully across the calm sky. Do you see a synonym for peaceful? Yeah, calm, right? Those are synonyms. Okay, let's look down. Let's look down to the very last sentence, okay? So let's say you don't know what the word approaching means. The storm is approaching and it's very close. Okay, do you see a synonym that helps you know what approaching means? Yeah, close is a synonym for approaching. Also in the last sentence of the first paragraph, do you see nearby? That's a synonym for approaching or close, nearby. All of those are synonyms. So sometimes you don't even realize that your brain is doing all that, but your brain is making connections between synonyms. So, but sometimes we have to really focus on that task. Sometimes our brain can do it automatically, but sometimes when it's a really unfamiliar word, we need to actually go back and look for clues. Our brain can't do it automatically like what it normally does. We have to actually dig a little bit. And then your brain can make that connection in the future. Okay, so let's look about the synonyms used in the story. We're going to write a word from the box that's a synonym for each word below. So we have the words silent, calm, nearby, and float. Okay, so we are going to choose a word from the box that means the same as drift. And I think we already talked about most of these. So which word goes with drift? Float, yes. Okay, which word goes with still, which is a synonym for still? Yeah, calm is a synonym for still. Okay, a synonym for quiet would be, yes, silent. And a synonym for close would be nearby. Okay, so you're going to read about some of these, believe it or not, weather tales. So remember, tale is a synonym for story when it's spelled T-A-L-E-S. Okay, so tales is a synonym for stories, and we're thinking about in the olden days, before we had all the technology that helps us predict weather, we had some of these stories that help people make their best guess about what weather would be. And, you know, some of them still kind of make sense, and some we still can observe that. So I want you to read this article about how to forecast weather in the olden times, all right? And then you're going to be finding some synonyms for sentences. So I want you to look on page 95. Okay, so you're just going to answer these questions about comprehension. Why did people use tales to predict weather? And why do you think that people still tell these weather tales? I know that my son and I were just talking about the sky was a beautiful sunset and the sky was red. And so he said, hey, doesn't that mean something? And I said, that's what they say. And that's here in this story. So you find that out, okay? All right, so for the comprehension skills, remember we're working with synonyms, okay? So you're going to read the sentence and you're going to choose a synonym for the underlined word, okay? So number 3, today you can switch on the TV to hear the weather. So which word means the same thing as switch? Which is a synonym for switch? Buy, turn, forget, or clean. Okay, so switch in this sentence means the same thing as turn. Switch on the TV, turn on the TV means the same thing. Okay, so whatever the underlined word is, you're going to find the correct synonym that matches it. Okay, then we're going to keep working with synonyms on page 96. All right, so you've got a word bank here. Okay, so match it to its synonym over here. And down here, we're just writing the correct word from the word bank, okay, for our vocabulary. So discovered, I think you know what that means. Retold, remember that's a suffix, re, means to do it again. So that means to tell again, all right. A generation, okay, so generation are age groups, okay. So people in my generation are not as used to technology as people in your generation, okay? They're just different age groups, all right? Attention, I know you know what that means. Settlers, okay? So settlers are people that go to settle in a new place, okay? Weather, you know what that means. And unbelievable, okay? So we've got a suffix here, or I'm sorry, a prefix here. I think I called a suffix over here. I meant prefix. Sorry. Okay, so we've got this prefix un. Remember that means not. And then we have believe and then able. That means to able to be believed. Okay, but if it's unbelievable, it's not able to be believed, right? Okay, so you're going to match these vocabulary words with the definition here. And of course, you do not have to do the writing journal entry unless you want to. You can, but you don't have to. All right, we'll see you later.